I don't have a fancy envelope. I wish I did. But we'll try and keep this short. We've got a couple of the members or the finalists in the room with us. How does this go? OK. So ICE Awards, Innovation Through Cloud and Enterprise. This was the inaugural year that we did this. A bit of an introduction to myself. I'm Jimit Arora, Vice President with Everest Group, a consulting and research firm that's focused exclusively on the global services marketplace. This was the inaugural year of the award, and I had the privilege of interviewing all the nominations that we received through our online channel. What we have in front of you is the final four, as we like to call them. The four organizations who went through the process and, still there? OK. Went through the process, and this is what we kind of came down with. There was Columbia, leverage a SaaS solution for supply chain and procure-to-pay functions through their partner, GT Nexus. This was implemented across 150 organizations, one of the 150 trading partners across several countries globally. Language Line Solutions, an interpretation services company, they transitioned their entire call center technology to the cloud. Revlon, the CPG giant, they transformed their entire infrastructure and applications environment through a private cloud deployment called the Revlon Cloud. And then finally, Schneider Electric, they deployed a SaaS solution at a global enterprise level for their social collaboration platform across some SaaS products as well as infrastructure as a service offerings. We have one of the finalists in the room with us. Steve, could I request you to give the finalist certificate to Keith Jacobson from Columbia Sportswear? Keith is the director responsible for supply chain performance improvement at Columbia. So, I had the easy part. I just had to shortlist the candidates, and then these were the 7 wise men. A few of them are in the room. Steve's here. Alistair's backstage. They evaluated the finalists, and they were not just looking at the technology impact. They were also looking at these from an impact to business standpoint. They were looking at it as the impact created across a set of stakeholders. They were also looking at the technology transformation as well as the organization change that these enterprise case studies enabled, right? And with that, I'd like to kind of call upon the finalist. Any bets in the room? Anyone volunteering as to who the winner might be? Profound silence. I love that. OK. So this was a unanimous decision across the 7 judges. So I'm glad that for once they all agreed to agree. And the winner is Revlon. We have David Giambruno, the Senior Vice President and Chief Information Officer, with us today. He'll walk us through his story so that you don't have to take my word for it or the judges' words for it. David, could you please come up and accept your award?
Get a picture also.
Oh, sure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And let's get the picture in.
Yes. I'll let you
Good.
hold the award.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Great. Thanks, David.
Couple of words on David. I know he won't. He's a modest person. He's not going to introduce himself.
I'm not modest.
So David, he's responsible for driving global technology capabilities for Revlon. I just learned that he's not just the CIO. He's also the CTO and the CSO, right?
Chief cook and bottle washer.
and accolades are not new to him. He's been the finalist for the CPG CIO of the Year, Top 30 Social Savvy CIO, NetApp Epic Story. So a lot of contributions to the industry. This award is just another testimonial to some of his achievements, and I'll just hand it off to him to briefly walk us through his story. So thank you so much.
First of all, thank you to the judges, and I'm in this weird position where I have this totally awesome team, and I've got a management team that literally lets me go, and it's a unique position. I tell my team all the time, it's one of these few times in your career you look back and you probably go, wow, that was awesome and special. And it's really it's been really fascinating to be able to do the transformation at Revlon, and I'll walk you through kind of what we've done. So these are my simple principles. It's really, kind of motherhood in apple pie, capability, agility, security, consumerization, and then obviously reduce cost. So we really have this timeline of roughly 4 years from start to finish. If you think about it, we essentially bulldozed Revlon. Back at that time, our balance sheet wasn't that great, so it wasn't an option of spending money. It was literally changing the tires while the car was moving and then rebuilding the car. So we did the infrastructure, and we literally did this practice called oneness. I call it the Southwest of computing, one plane, one way to do anything. And then really in 2008, we deployed our global cloud, and then we literally shoved our application portfolio onto the cloud. So how did we get there? And again, it was really this whole idea of simplicity. So we did this IT foundation by literally one DNS, one directory, one network, one SAN, one hypervisor, one server image, one desktop image, one set of tools. Crazy, one view of the world. And we got the infrastructure out of the way of the apps and our user communities. And it really gave us the agility and speed. So it's really the consistency and predictability of infrastructure, and it changed the delivery expectations of what can be done. And with any transformation, it's almost always trust and confidence, right? Can you deliver? Will the business trust you? Will you execute on their behalf? And this is literally our cloud. This is a picture. So I'll argue with the last speaker. I have a cloud, okay? Just be clear. So I've got, at the end of the day, my CFO loves me because I've done cost avoidance and savings of $70 million, all right? I'm running 531 applications on my cloud. That's 97% of my global compute at north of 6 nines uptime. And I make lipstick. I mean, seriously. I mean, if I can do this, anybody can do it, right? And we have our applications move around 5 continents 15,000 times a month. Our transaction rate on our cloud is 14,000 transactions a second. Our change rate is roughly 40 terabytes a week. This has been updated, but we're now streaming just under 2 gigs a second to DR. Our average network speed is 550 megs a second, and I've reduced power by 72%. And oh, by the way, I gave back $70 million. So the question is, that's awesome, that's cool, but does it work? All right? Yeah, it works. So nothing like trial by fire, literally. So a couple years ago, after the cloud went live, we moved all our apps. That is literally our factory in Venezuela burning on a Sunday. On Monday morning, we were back in business. And then in literally an hour and 45 minutes, that factory is running in DR. We moved all the resources. We launched virtual desktops. We talked to our partners. We had people work from home, but we moved all the resources, and we kept everybody employed. So for Hurricane Sandy, we coined a new term I think is kind of funny, prophylactic DR. All right? In under an hour, one guy moved our New York and New Jersey data centers back to Oxford, North Carolina, right? We did a major upgrade because it was awesome. No one was on the network, so it was a good time to do work. And then on Monday, we moved everything back. We did the whole thing while the data centers were running, and no one knew it happened. And then just several weeks ago, one of our people in our building in London decided to do construction with a jackhammer and hit the water main, which flooded the EMEA data center. 20 minutes running in our DR site in New Jersey. So does it work? Yeah, it works. Next. And that's all great from a technology, but what do you do for the business? And this is really the thing. I mean, to me, business alignment's kind of simple. Do what they want, faster, cheaper, better. And since 2007, we've increased the project throughput by 425%. We've had one project go late. We haven't missed money. We haven't missed deliverables, right? It's doing more with less. And it's really because we changed the frame of reference of what can be done, and we reduced the time it takes to deploy an application by 70%, right? So now people can expect us to do more, and we can do more for them. Next. So this is one of these big unintended consequences that was a huge catalyst for my organization and for the business. So the head of my apps, my VP of apps, one day he had an epiphany. He walked in my office. He said, literally everything's in one place. So the fact that we replicate everything every 15 minutes in Revlon to one place, we take all of our old servers, we throw them into DR. They're off maintenance. We don't care. We just build capacity. We have the ability to run 4 instances of Revlon. And so we literally had this common cloud infrastructure with all our raw data, with all our applications that let us build a master data model and a big data model, which hyper-accelerated our application deployment, allowed us to deliver to consumer devices, and now we're building workflow and exception management with literally in days. So all the ETLing, movement and data, all of that totally disconnected all the costs. It was one of the most powerful things that we see. The benefit of the cloud is literally having everything in one place that we can get at, and we don't have to deal with resources, time, any of it. So, and it's really about creating actionable information, right? Big data is great, but if it's not actionable, it's useless. And so this is literally an example of the real-time data being pushed to devices around the world. This is the shipping. So this is the summary of 30 systems. All right? So the guy who runs shipping around the world used to take him all day to figure out what doesn't ship. Every 15 minutes, he then press a button, say what didn't ship, and go make it ship, because that's how we make money. Right? But just a real example of using all this big data to drive actionable information to do things with. Because at Revlon, we're an expense. We don't drive any profit. I'm just there to help. Next. So how did we fund? We literally just changed how we spent money. So I had a 600 server refreshed. I replaced it with 72. The cascading impacts is really eliminating switch ports, reducing power. Our internal resources designed and deployed. So we own the technology intellectually. We wield it. And that's to constantly disconnect cost and add capability. So when we started, we averaged 1 physical to 7 virtual. We now average 1 to 34. That's roughly a 500% increase in capacity without spending a nickel. Right? So again, disconnecting cost. And we internalized our DR. Next. So the outcomes, we're over 90% insourced. I know it's probably diametrically opposed to pretty much everybody. But we provide challenges to any outsourcer. We literally trust but verify every year, right? Can you come in and do it cheaper than us? We have no colo. And by the way, Revlon.com, Almay.com, 75 of our brands run off our internal cloud, and we present it to the external world. Right? I don't know anybody else that does that, right? Which is pretty cool. And we wield our technologies. We're constantly delivering new capability, constant automation and scalability. And again, this dogmatic pursuit of simplicity. And the paradigm shift is cost, speed, capabilities, and expectations. So what we've learned, really the big picture, is that the cloud is impactful as the LAN was in the early 90s, right? So in the cloud, everything's a file. If you remember one thing, that's probably the most important thing. And everything moves horizontal, vertical. So if your organizations are vertical, you're going to have a problem in the cloud. You need to lay your organizations down and run horizontally. You need to change your team's frame of reference of what can be done, how much does it cost to do, how fast, and how long it takes. And then you can disconnect your costs, again, around servers, storage, network operations. And the big idea, and I think we're all pretty cognizant of this, is users really just want to use IT as an iPad, right? They just want the iPad of view of the world. They want to consume what they need to consume, get the information and stuff they need to do their job, and move on. Next. So just some physical views. This is one of the funnest days I've ever had. Like walking into a data center with a Sawzall. Does anybody know what that is? Right? Because we literally took out so much cable that I literally took the Sawzall and just cut the cables in the back. You want to watch operations people freak? That was fun. All right. So this is actually, when you do all this stuff, you actually end up with a really expensive end table. That's literally $1 million switch that's now sitting, right? Because we took out 2,600 switch ports and 15 miles of cable out of one data center, right? So again, and then I was like, oh, what do I do with this? And my finance guys, it's like, I'm like, I'll put it in my office because it's funny. Next. And then what do you do when you transform yourself? We took so many lights out of our data center that we had to put lights back, right? So you've seen Pimp My Ride? We pimped the data center, right? So actually the ceiling moves, and my guys wrote an interface into the thing, so as the sand spins up, the ceiling goes faster. I had a bet that I couldn't get the CEO to believe that, but then it was bonus time, and I thought that would be stupid. But anyway, thank you very much. It's been a really interesting, and at the end of the day, the technology works, and we're just here to help.